Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is of course for First Impressions Friday, but I don't have anything for First Impressions because it is my birth month and I'm not allowed to open any of my presents yet. So other than my printer, which it was a really large one, and yeah, I could see it plain as day. So the Annlov markers that we have been using all week, I have used them all week and I have colored a few different things. So let's take a look at all of the things that we colored with the Annlov markers. Let me gather them all up because I have colored a few things. I think that was with the, yeah, I think that was with the Arteza. Okay, so of course we've got Deck and Ant and Betty Boop and Sally, and we're going to be finishing this one today. And these are the Annlov markers, and I'll go more into that in a few minutes. You see all of these wonderful inks and stuff here that we're also going to be using because we are going to finish this today as well. So that one we have done with the Annlov. I also did this one here, which is a Color It picture done out of their Colorful Seasons coloring book. This is done directly out of the book. The paper in the Color It coloring books is fantastic. It's a nice thick paper, great for markers, okay for colored pencils, but fantastic for markers. I did this one as well with the Annlov markers. This is a picture done by Mariola Budek, and I just love it. I do believe it was one of her free pictures that is available on her Facebook group. And then again, another Mariola Budek is this one here, and I have completed her with the Annlov as well. I did do some work on the rabbit itself with the markers, or not markers, with colored pencils, sorry, just to give that fur feeling. I thought there was one more, but I don't see it, so maybe not. Arteza. So of course this month is the month of markers. So we have been doing quite a bit in markers. I have colored a few different things, and so far I think I'm doing okay. We've got a couple more weeks of the month to be working on. So we may do a background on this one if we get the background on this one done quickly. So let's talk more about the markers themselves, and then we'll go into doing backgrounds and that sort of thing with ink. So the Annlov markers, they are a brush. I'm going to switch over to the close-up so you can see. They are a brush chisel nib marker. They do have the Annlov information here, but they do not have the color names. So if you pop both of these ends off and then do that with another marker, you may end up with an unknown. I have done it. So make sure that you swatch your markers. It does help a lot, not only in being able to see what colors you have available in the set, but to be able to figure out what color you have, because just looking at the tip, you can't tell that that's going to be that color. It looks very dark, you can't tell, but it does actually come out to be this color. See, because this is the color here. So you can't tell just by looking at that nib what color it's going to be. So make sure that when you pop the caps off, If you are going to use both ends of your marker, make sure that you keep the caps close by and separate so that you don't mix them up. It does have a very wide range of colors. It has a really good skin tone area for the light skin tones, as well as some good colors for the darker skin tones as well. I do find it a little lacking in oranges and yellows. These are more of a yellow-brown than an orange, and this is more of a peach than an orange. So I do find it a little lacking in the oranges and yellows. But otherwise, it's a very well-rounded set. It's got some really nice pinks into the pink purples, into the blue purples. It has a great selection of blues, and then it also has a really good selection of greens. However, I find that these kind of greens, that really bright grassy green, um, leaf green, that sort of thing. These ones here are good, but they're a little close together in color. I would like to see at least one that's a little bit lighter than this one. But otherwise, it has a really good selection of colors. And as you have seen, we have been able to do quite a bit with them. We have done purples, we've done pinks, we've done purples and oranges. And like I said, the orange in here is the orange that is available there. But if you look at it, let's see if I can show it on the main camera. If you look at it closely, it does have a bit of a pink, peachy hue to it. It's not as orange as, say, this. This is from, I used the orange on this from the Arteza. Same with here. Those oranges are done with the Arteza markers, just because I didn't like how much orange or how light this orange was, how peachy. But otherwise it looks pretty good. All right, so yeah, as for whether or not I like these markers, on this paper and on the cardstock papers, this is the cover stock that I have. I think it's Hammer Mill, but I'll have to look. It could be something else. But this is the cover stock, and it worked really, really well on the cover stock. Didn't bleed through a horrible amount. Of course, there's always going to be some bleed through, but it worked really, really nicely on the cover stock. It also worked really well on the coloring book page. The coloring books are a little bit different than regular coloring books, so you will find that they may bleed a little bit more on regular coloring books, but they do work really nicely on cardstock. And I do believe I did, I could have swore I did something in a coloring book. I may not have. I don't remember. Actually, I think this one here is done with, where to go? Pretty sure this one here is also done with the, no, that's with the Ohuhus. That's right, because of the pastel colors. So yeah, I don't know. I have not colored with these in a coloring book, so we will have to try that at some point very soon before we put them away for the year. I'm not going to put them away for a year. People are all going to yell at me. I did enjoy using them. I have been really enjoying doing the marker month. It is a medium I don't normally do, or I don't normally play with a lot, so it has been very entertaining and very educational to myself as well as everybody else, I hope. So now we're going to do the background behind the dinosaur here, and I have drawn in with a pencil the outlines of the bushes because I did print off, let's see if I can find him now. There he is. And I have been doing experiments with him. Um, I did print off this one here on my printer, and my printer is showing a lot more detail in those areas. So I have basically just gone through and added a little bit of that detail back in, and we will color or use inks to bring that out. But it's going to be blurry, little faded type of background. So we have the water drop inks. Um, you can use any ink for this. So we're going to use this one here, which is key lime, aloe vera, and tea leaves. Now we also have our brushes here. So we've got a big brush for the larger areas, small brushes for the smaller areas. I've also got a couple of blues here because I'm going to do this area here behind this one as sky, as well as up in here as sky. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our darkest color. We're going to work dark to light. And this one is tea leaves, and we're going to load up the brush. And we're going to do our darkest areas. And like I said, this is just going to be, I'll switch over to the other camera so you can see a little better. So we'll go over here. Okay. So this is just going to be a nice loose background. And this tea leaves one is a little bit of a green-gray kind of color. Wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be. So let's see if we can find a darker one. I don't want to go too brown-gray, so let's see, what's this one? Definitely don't want to do midnight black. That might be a problem. Spanish olive, or what's this one? Hint of pesto. That might work a little better. Let's throw in a bit of pesto. Yeah, that's better. For some reason, there's not a lot of yellow greens in the inks that I have. I should really look at getting more ink, but once again, another medium I don't use a lot, except for backgrounds. And even then, I'm a little timid with them, as you can see. All right, so I'm going to grab another brush that has a little bit less, a little more of an edge. And we're going to go in here like so. Just getting those edges a little bit dark. Trying to get those outlines to show outlines. And I'm just dabbing it because we want this to be bush-like. We don't want it to be a smudge or smear. We just want it to have that stippled effect of leaves. Working over here, sorry guys. I'm just going through and just putting in the little stipples. That you'll see in the shadowy areas. Okay. And then we're going to take our lid, put it back on. We'll take this lid, put it back on. And then we're going to take our next darkest color, which is the aloe vera. And we're going to use a paper towel to dry or wipe off as much of that ink as we can. Sorry guys, I feel like I'm starting to get a cold. I really hope not, because it's my birthday, it's Easter. I would really hate to be sick for my birthday. So now I'm just going to put a bit of this aloe vera in and just filling in some of those smaller areas. Don't worry about getting it anywhere else. It is something that will just blend in. If this was pencil, you could erase it off of it or wipe it off of it. But because this is ink and marker, it's going to be a little bit harder to lift off. So if you do find that you get some on an area that you don't want it on, just take a paper towel quickly before it, or your finger, before it dries, and wipe it off. I need a smaller one. Do I have a smaller one? Where did I put it? There it is. I have a smaller one. Let's make sure it's clean. I'm just going to come in under here. And most of the areas that we're working in, we're going to be working close to green things anyway, so I'm not too concerned about getting too much green on the green things, if that makes sense. Well, let's just throw that anywhere. I will be careful around Deck's eye and his nose and that sort of thing, but I'm just going to work that into there. Working that green into all those spaces. We have another lighter green as well that we're going to go over it with. Sorry about that. Whoever is calling me from Houston, Texas, can call me back. More than likely it's just a spam call. There's so many of them lately. And then over here as well. Now you could use dotting tool, eyeshadow tool, all sorts of things for this. Actually, an eyeshadow tool might work really good to get into those tight spaces, so let's give that a shot. I have them available right here. You can also use a brush and that sort of thing as well, like a paintbrush, to get into those really, really tight areas. I know I'm going to crinkle and crankle and crackle and all that fun stuff here, so I'm just going to grab a couple of those. So let's try this, getting into that really tight area there. It'll also tell me how. So see, as you can tell, you can get into this area here a lot better with a tighter tool. So I usually use pretty much the same tools as I would for pan pastels or chalk pastels with the inks. The brushes that I use are just a basic makeup brush, but they're a lot cheaper than the ones that you can buy that are specifically made for blending inks. But they do the same job. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit of, I think I'm going to grab a little bit more of that dark and put some shadow behind decks there as well. So I'm just going to grab this one, and we'll grab a different side of the little thingy here. We're just going to put a bit of shadow behind the Dexter here. And then we'll blend into that with the other color. Put a shadow under here and over here. Oh, that actually I wanted that to be blue. Oopsie, that's okay. That's okay. We'll work with it. And that's the great thing is, sometimes you have little oopsies. You can always work with an oopsie. All right, now I'm just gonna go like this, bring that down a little, get up in there, come up under here, and then come off of the shadow behind decks. All right, now we're going to do a nice light bright green on top. So again, I'm actually going to use the eyeshadow applicator for most of this because it does work really well. I was going to use the brushes, but the applicator seems to work better. And then we're going to go in here. This is a nice bright green. And like I said, it's just going to be very, very what is the word? Faded, like it's in the background. So it's all behind him. And we're just blending all those colors together with this lightest color. Just loading up the applicator tool and getting in behind those areas there. And up in here. Using the very tip of the applicator to get into all of those little hidden areas. Like so. And hopefully you guys were able to see what I was doing. Keep on forgetting that you're on the close-up camera and I have to move around a little bit. Because normally when I do this kind of thing, I try to keep it on the distance camera so that you can see everything I'm doing. All And I will probably do that on the other one because this is not going to take very long at all. All right, so there is our greenery. And like I said, I don't want it to be perfect. I don't want it to, I just want it to resemble the background that we were working with. Now just to get that a little bit more rounded in those areas, just going to take the tip here and we're just going to dab those darker areas just to give it a little bit of a rounded area there, showing the bushes that are in there. Once again, if you get it on your ink, just give it a rub, a little bit of a wipe. Give it that roundy bush look. Like so. Now the reason why I did the darker first instead of the lightest first and then working from that, which is the way most people do, is because I wanted to be able to see the areas that I wanted shadowed because my printer wasn't working as well as it should have been and didn't give me that detail. Alright, now we're going to do a little bit more of the lighter green. And we're just going to move everything together. So I'm just going to grab a whole bunch of this lighter green and we're just going to dab it onto. Like so. Just brightening up a couple of little areas. And there we have it. Just make sure that it's blended in a little. And there we have our bushes in the background there. Make sure I didn't miss any areas. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to do the sky area. And we've got a couple of different blues here. So we're going to start off with our darker blue, which is Agan blue. And we're just going to put it in closest to the plant life here, where a bit of those shadows might show through. Alright, like that. And then we've got this area here. We're going to put the darker blue down there. Same within here. here and in here, like so. And then we're going to switch over to our lighter blue. And this one is Aspen Mist. I'm just going to fill the applicator tool with it. And we're going to blend right into that Agan blue. And work our way into the skyline here. A little more. And as you can see in these little tiny areas, well, if I had kept you on camera, you could see. Um, these applicator tools do work really nicely to get the ink into those really small areas. Like so. So you can blend the inks to get a gradual color movement. So I'm going to go in there, also in here, get a little bit more ink on my pad, and go in up here. And there we have it. Our little deck, other than the border, which I'm not going to deal with right now. Other than the border, our little fellow is done. So we're going to switch over to the main screen here so you can see him a little bit better. So we have completed this with using alcohol markers. So we used our Annlov alcohol markers. We did use a couple of Everblend markers from Arteza, and we have used the June 6 water drop inks. And that's all that we've used on this. There is no pencil, there is no ink, gel pen, anything like that. This is all specifically alcohol marker ink and water drop ink. Now the water drop ink is a chalk ink. It is not a water ink. So if I spray stuff on this, it's not going to wash it off. Same with if I use an eraser on it, it's not going to erase. So that's why I chose this ink, because it is definitely something that is similar to the alcohol-based inks. All right, so that is this little fella. Let's put him aside, let him dry. And then we have another one that needs a background because somebody insisted that I color this one. So this wonderful little fella is going to be my Easter entry for my Facebook group. So I'm going to start him off with some of the Agan blue. And I've got a mess on my, I didn't realize that had, oh dear. So make sure that your brushes are clean. Otherwise, you can end up what I just did. Basically, I ended up putting pan pastel on my ink pad. Alright, so I've got a brush full of Agan blue here, hopefully. And we're going to start down here. And we're just going to brush up. You would do the same thing with your pan pastels, with your pastel chalks, your soft pastels. You just brush it in the direction you want it to go. Get some more ink. And when you put more ink down, you should, I didn't, and that's going to show, should dab it so that you don't end up with a hard addition, which is difficult to remove. So I'm going to stop about here, and then we're going to go rub that off, and we're going to pick up the lighter blue. And we're going to start with the lighter blue right into the darker blue, and we're going to start moving that up. And pick up some more of that light blue. And then move it on up under the butterfly. And up around the butterfly. Again, taking some of that lighter blue, filling my brush with it, and just moving it over. Now I'm going to wipe that off. Actually grab a clean part of my Q-tip here and make sure that I wipe all that off, because I do not want that on my black. And that's not working very well, so I'm going to... So you just take a paper towel and move it off, like so. And then continue on working. I've got my paper towel in my hand just in case I need it. Just to make sure that I get any areas that I don't want that blue on, because this is a larger brush than I was expecting to use, because my smaller brush has got dirty stuff on it. Rotten dirty brush. I could have swore I washed that one, but I guess I didn't. And just getting up into the top area here. Don't worry about getting it on your mat or anything like that. It'll wash off with a bit of soap and water. Worse with a bit of alcohol. Rubbing alcohol works great for getting the mat clean. Okay, now I'm coming back down into where the plant life is. So I'm going to take the Agan blue, and I'm going to work up from the bottom, just the same as we did on the other side here. I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to dab it off. And we're going to start down here, making this area darker as we go up. Make sure I get it off of the leaves, because these are green leaves, not blue. This is about where we stopped with the Agan blue on the other side. And again, wipe it off and take our light blue. The reason why I did it this way is so I could build into that blue there. So I'm just going to bring that blue up and into the lighter blue up top here. Like so. Get that heavy spot there. And a heavy spot here. Trying to get that to blend through. And there we have it. Make sure I've got all the ink going in the right directions. Lift off any excess. There might be a need for a little bit more of that light ink up here in this corner. And there we have another wonderful little fella, all done. So we've done 2 backgrounds and looked at and reviewed the Annlov markers. So once again, there is Deck, and we did his background with the June 6 greens and some of the blues. We used the eyeshadow applicators for this so that we could get some of that texture in there. Just gonna touch up a couple areas that I just noticed. And there we have it. Okay, so that is Decks all done. And then, of course, this is also done with the Annlov markers with a little bit of Art Track colored pencils on the fur, but otherwise all marker. And of course the background is done with the June 6 inks. Alright guys, so that is it for Friday. Of course, remember tomorrow we are 2 hours later than our normal air time. Make sure that you head over to Emily Illustrator's birthday extravaganza. She is celebrating 15,000 subscribers as well as her birthday because this is her birth month, just like mine. Yay! April babies are awesome. All right, guys. With that, I want to say thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Of course, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to any YouTube artist that you enjoy. Always remember to relax, color, and stay safe. Until next time, guys, bye-bye for now.